We want the inside of our cards to be just as beautiful as the outside of our cards, don't we? Today, I'm going to go over 10 different ways you can add a little zhuzh to the insides of your cards. Now, keep in mind, today's video, we're only going to focus on the insides, but I hope that even what I'm sharing with you here might just inspire you on some ideas for the outside. Hello, everyone. I'm Connie Stewart with simplysimplestamping.com, and I am so excited to share these fun ways that you're going to be able to decorate the inside of your cards. You know, obviously, we focus a lot on the outside of the cards. Now, let's talk about some fun ways to create a really enticing and beautiful inside of your card. Are you ready to get started? Let's jump in. So, my first tip is obviously let's stamp something that focuses on the front of our card, and we're going to stamp something on the inside. So, I'm going to be using the Coneflower Celebrations, and this card was created with Petunia Pop. So, that's what I'm going to stamp here on the inside of my card. Now, one thing, this is going to be a really dark color, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp off once because when you stamp something like this on the inside of a card, you want it to be kind of light. And here's why. Because now we're going to come in. I've got some early espresso here. And I'm going to stamp my sentiment right there on top. So this is just a really fun way to quickly add a stamped image. I personally like to layer these things. I love to add layers to the inside of my cards. So I've got a piece. This is Balmy Blue, 4 by 5 1/4. And then my basic white that I've stamped on for the inside. Here's where I'm going to write my message. That is a 3 3/4 by 5. And now when we add this to our card, we got a great card here. But look what happens when we add a great focal image here to the inside. Really makes a difference and really steps up the card, right? All right, let's take that same technique, only we're going to step it up a notch. So I saw the beautiful motif stamp set, and I was very intrigued by this image right here. So we're going to do that same technique we just did. I'm going to use Secret C. Now, this is a very, very dark color. I'm going to test it before I stamp it on my cardstock because I want this, just like we did with that coneflower, we want this to be very light. So let's test it. Stamp off one, too dark. Stamp off again, still pretty dark. Stamp off again. I think we're going to do the fourth one. So I always like to test on my scrap paper. Perfect. So we want that to be very, very light. So I'm going to take one of my sentiments here. Now this one we won't stamp off, again, just like we did on our previous card. We'll stamp our sentiment, but now let's bring in a blending brush and add a little texture to this because I just thought it really needed that. So I'm going to take and kind of ink this up, and I'm going to get some of this ink off of here. And then what I'm going to do is just lightly blend here on the edges. So this, can you see? Look at that. It's giving it a really nice, soft look. I'm going to focus here on the edges, but let me tell you, when you want something other than that bright white, maybe that basic white is not what you're looking for. So I think that looks really nice. But you know what? If you wanted to, the area where you're going to write your message, you can take whatever's kind of left there on your blending brush and add that as well. So that's another technique you can add to really create some beautiful texture to the inside of your cards. I just got the Notes and Totes bundle, and I'm really excited to create with it. I haven't had a chance to create an actual card, but I did design something very simple to do on the inside. So you notice these flowers right here. Now with this stamp set, this actually creates this cute little tote bag, right? But I thought, nope, I'm going to be able to use those in a little different way. So I'm going to bring in some Timid Tiger. And of course, I've got some scratch paper underneath me. And we're just going to add some color and a little bit of extra to the inside of our card. And we're just going to stamp on the corners. This is also a great way to add something a little extra to the inside of a card. I'll bring in my strawberry slush and let's stamp our sentiment. Sending warm wishes. Boom. I've got a great inside of my next card that I'm going to create with the notes and totes. Let's create just a simple border on our cards. I'm going to use the painted stripes, but you might have a background stamp. You might have a great big stamp that you want to just create a border. So let me show you how to do it with a background stamp. So let's use a little coastal cabana on this one. So what we want to do here is, because we've got a nice straight edge, that's what's going to stamp up at the top. So I'm just going to ink up just the edge because that's all we're going to do here on this stamp. Now you notice this particular stamp set has a lot of shading in it. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to lay my cardstock on top, and then I'm just going to bring in a clear block to kind of help me give this a little massage. So just kind of rub that right there, making sure I have everything stamped. And now you can see I've got a nice little border, right? I can write my message here. And of course, if I want to add a sentiment, I can do that as well, whatever you want to do. But this is just a really great way to add just a really quick little something to the inside of a card. You know, many times we've used designer series paper, but you know what? A really great background stamp will take care of that as well. So just like we did with that background stamp, we can use other stamps to create a really nice border as well. This one really caught my eye from Sunshine Vibes. So I love to create, I love circles, I love polka dots, I love things like that. So I'm going to use that in a little different way. Let's go ahead and bring in our Strawberry Slush and Timid Tiger, one of my favorite color combinations right now. And we're going to go down the left-hand side. So I'm going to take that little half circle. I'm going to come off of the cardstock a little tiny bit because I definitely do not want the edge to show. If this were a big circle, I wouldn't have a problem. But with this one, we're going to come off just a little bit. And I'm going to start here in the middle with my strawberry slush. I'm going to come over just a little bit more and come right here to the end. And again, stamping off the cardstock. We're going to do the same thing right down here. Easy enough. Let me clean my stamp. And now we can come in with the Timid Tiger. Now you could do a couple different things here. I could line these up exactly the same way. And I think that's really cute. But you know what? We have the opportunity to be a little creative. Let's bring this one down so that we're just getting, again, it kind of gives it a little more detail, right? And we'll stamp that right there. Guys, I think that's just an adorable little background, don't you? I think it's really fun. We can come back in, add our sentiment, a place to write our message. Again, it's a brand new stamp set. I haven't had a chance to play with it, but just creating the insides of my cards has me so excited to create something for the outside. Stay tuned. You'll see more. I've got another technique, and I'm going to be using the notes and totes again, only this time we're going to use these little speckles. But this card idea is kind of a 3-in-1. All right, 3 different techniques. You use the one that you want. So I've got my cardstock. I've got a piece of Strawberry Slush cardstock that is 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. So I'm going to do a simple little tearing technique. Now, this is one I've used all the time. I'm just going to start by creating just a simple little cut right there, little tug. When I do my tearing, because I've heard from you guys that tearing can be challenging. The trick is just tiny little spurts. Don't try to go whoosh. That does not work well. And this gives you the ability to kind of give it, whoops, went a little farther. That's okay. That is my technique. Now, if you don't like a bit of that, no problem. We can take that off. No one's going to know. So again, this is the first technique. So I could just adhere that right there. Great, right? Now I can also turn it over. If you don't like that rough side, you want a smoother side, you can do that. Here's another technique though with the stamp set. So I can now take this speckle stamp and we can just add. All right. Oh, I love this one because there's really no right or wrong. But it's going to add maybe a little whimsy. I could also take that flower set that I just used. I could stamp those on there. In fact, let's see what that looks like. We'll do that here on the other side. Why? Because we can. So we'll just add, look at that. I think that looks great as well. So there, if you want the flowers or if you want some speckles, let's bring in our cardstock. So again, speckles or flowers. Keep in mind, this could be at the bottom. It could be at the top. All right. You've got a lot of fun options with that one. That's going to be a good one. Let's go ahead and bring in our sending good vibes. I know it doesn't go with it, but it's sitting there. Really fun, right? Okay. Let's take that remaining piece of torn cardstock, and I've got another technique to share with you. So for this one, I'm going to use a Stampin' Spritzer. If you don't have this, don't worry about it. I have got rubbing alcohol in mine, but you can use water. That is not a problem. I like rubbing alcohol because it dries a little bit faster, but water is going to work just fine. I'm going to spritz both sides of my cardstock. Now, if you didn't have this spritzer, you could just wet your hands. I could put this rubbing alcohol here on my hands, and then I'm going to take this cardstock and I'm going to crush it up. Now, I have to be honest, maybe this cardstock color was not my best choice for this. I might choose something a little more masculine. But, it's what I had there when we were doing the technique, but it's all good. So you're just going to kind of unfold. You're going to see your torn edges starting to get a little rough. That's okay. We like that. And, I'm just going to kind of, in fact, let me grab a clear block here. I'm going to iron it out. That's simple enough. So the reason I like to use the rubbing alcohol is so this will dry a little bit quicker, as I said, but water will work fine. Now, if I really wanted to speed up the drying process, your handy dandy heat tool will do that. You can just run this on both sides of your cardstock. You're going to start to see this wet. All the little wet spots will disappear. It's going to work great if you're in a hurry. Now I've got one already done. As I said, I kind of liked it a little more in a masculine color when I did this technique. This is what you might call a faux leather technique, or it just has a really good masculine feel. I used cloud cover for this one. So again, I've got a really great place to stamp my message. And I've got a little message here from Fancy Borders, and we can say, a little hello with a lot of love. Now, remember that we did the technique using the blending brush. Did you know I can do that on this as well? And I'm going to use a darker color. I'm going to bring in that Secret C. Again, I want to get a lot of that off of there. And if I lightly brush that over that dried cardstock, do you see what's picking up the color? It's all that texture. And we can just add more. Remember, you can't take it away. So you always want to start out with less. And I would do this probably before I added it to my cardstock, but I wanted you to see both versions. There we go. So yeah, you can do this really great faux linen, faux leather technique. I think it really looks great. Here's a technique that requires no stamping. We're going to use our Stampin' Blends and add some great color. So I'm going to be using Darling Duckling as my background. So I obviously wanted to use Darling Duckling blends. I'm going to bring in Timid Tiger and Strawberry Slush, kind of in the mood. So what I want to do is I'm going to take a piece of copy paper and I'm just going to lay it right here on my grid paper. Now, if you want, you can even adhere this down. So I'm going to do that with just a little Scotch tape. Now, I'm not touching my actual cardstock, okay? But I think that's going to hold it in place pretty good. But I want to make sure I have a nice straight line. You could also do this with Post-it notes. That would work great. So I'm going to start with my dark. And I'm going to come in and just add a little bit of dark. I'm now going to come in with the light and I'm going to blend that together. So just kind of keep a little bit of a track of how much color you're adding. Then because that was light, I'm going to come in now with the light Timid Tiger. And we'll add a little bit there. We're going to keep this up. So here's our dark timid tiger. Now, because we did dark, let's come in with dark strawberry slush. I'm going to blend these colors a little bit more here in just a minute. And now with our light about there. And guess what? We're going to repeat these colors again. So to blend together, I'm going to come in. So this is dark, darling duckling. There we go. And I'm just going to kind of blend these colors together a little bit. All right. Don't worry, that's going to dry a little bit better here in a second. And then over here, we'll come in. This was the light. So we'll come in now with the light. And I'm just going to kind of blend those two colors together. All right. Let's remove our cardstock. It looks great. Now you notice I have a little bit of a squiggly line. Maybe not what I'm looking for, but I've got a tip for that. I'm going to take that same piece of just copy paper. It was a great little piece for me to use. I'm going to lay it there. I've got my basic black dark, and I'm going to use that and give myself a nice straight line. Maybe not a straight line. Maybe a ruler would have been better. Anything can be fixed, right? So let's bring our ruler in. So much better. So now I can just simply cover any, if I didn't get that good straight line, I'm just going to say I probably would have preferred maybe a painter's tape or Post-it note masking something so that I get a little bit nicer straight line. But sometimes when we're creating, we use what's on our desk, and that's what I did today. So look at this really great fun colors, right? We did some nice blending, some nice ombre going on. So yeah, you can use your Stampin' Blends to create some great backgrounds too. I've got another Stampin' Blends technique to teach you. So I've got just this with some scrap, I promise you. I think it's 1 inch by 5.5. I can trim it down if necessary. And I'm going to use all the dark Stampin' Blends. So tell you what, I'm going to do something I don't typically like to do, which is to have all of my Stampin' Blends open. So let's start here with the strawberry slush. And this one's not about neatness, all right? This is kind of just a nice little whimsical little look here. You don't have to go at an angle. You could go straight across if you wanted. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to play. But, oh my, this is kind of reminding me of that fruit stripe gum. You guys remember fruit stripe gum? We'll just take that there. And yeah, we're just going to keep repeating. Then you can simply trim that down to the size that you need. And let's add this. I'm going to add it on a layer. So I've got a 1 1/4 by 5 1/4 of strawberry slush. And then when I add that to the inside of my card, again, it can be down at the bottom, at the top. You could go down the side, either side. I think this is just another really fun, whimsical way to add a little something to the inside of your cards. We don't want boring inside of our cards, right? So those Stampin' Blends can add so much. And I love the look. Now, remember, you could go straight down. You could do squiggles. You could have a lot of fun with this technique. Here's a really fun way to add your sentiment in just a new and creative way. I'm going to use the fancy borders, and I'm going to say sent with love, only I'm going to use a punch. So I'm using a 2-inch circle punch, but obviously whatever size punch will hold your sentiment. So we'll say sent with love. Now you can see, where did I get this little border? Well, there's a little curved heart in here. So let me show you how I did that. We're going to adhere that circle into our card. Now I'm going to bring in my strawberry slush and that little tiny stamp. So because you're not really sure how far it will go around, I'm going to recommend you start up at the top and do one on the opposite side. All right, so we have that. Now let's do the sides. All right, we'll stamp these here. Okay, now I have the ability to fill in. All right, so this just kind of helps me. That way I can see right where This one just happened to work perfect. When I made it, I had no idea what it was going to do. But it doesn't matter because when you go to fill in, as long as you center them up, you're fine. So, a little simple scent with love, right? Just a fun way to add your image there with a circle punch. I love using my punches that way. And then whatever image you have, guys, it could have been anything. I could have just put these little hearts and circled them around, whatever works. But what a fun way to add a little whimsy to the inside of your card. Here's another fun technique using your circle punches. So this is a 2 3/8" circle punch. I'm going to take, this is just a scrap, like something I messed up on, and I'm going to lay that there. I'm going to trace around it. I'm using a pen because guess what? This is not going to be seen. And I don't even have to trace it all. Just kind of give myself a good little outline. I want to be able to see where my, you know what? You don't have to do that. Here's another fun technique using a circle punch or whatever shape that you want. So I've used the thank you from the with you in mind. Let me show you how we're going to do this little fun technique. So I've already stamped this. I'm going to stamp it again. No one's going to see this. All right. So I didn't even re-ink it, but that does just fine. I'm going to bring in my Daffodil Delight and my Granny Apple Green, because these are my favorite colors together. All right, so because we can see that, we can kind of get an idea of where our circle punch is going to go. So I am simply going to stamp a few of my leaves here, hoping to get about 5. Yep, I think that'll work out about just right. Now we'll come in with the Daffodil Delight, and we'll kind of come in between. All right, here, this one's going to cover a little bit, but I'm good with that. And now when we add our circle punch, it kind of hides anything that just doesn't kind of look really good together, but it adds a really great punch of color, a little pow, and we love that. Now this one, you're not going to have a lot of room to write your message. Some people, like me, just want to sign their name. Scraps. We have so many scraps. So I'm going to show you a fun technique using designer series paper and adding that to your card. We're going to do something a little bit different. So of course, there's the obvious. I could adhere that there. I could adhere it at the bottom. Okay, that's a no-brainer. But what if you wanted to miter it together, because we don't really like how that looks, right? So I'm going to show you a fun technique. So I'm going to take my designer series paper. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to fold our corner of our designer series paper over, line that up there on the side. Okay, that's easy enough. That one will go right here. And now with this piece, we're going to fold again. We're going to go this direction. Okay, we just want to make sure we're getting that point nice and straight, just like that. And now we can miter those together perfectly. I'll trim this down, of course. So we'll adhere that one to that side. We're going to take this one. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adhere down my little mitered piece. And I know I don't need to go quite as long on this. And you can see we can just add that right there. We'll trim off the excess there. Now, if you wanted to go all the way around, you could do that. You're just simply going to miter on the other two ends. All right. But we'll just bring in our strawberry slush. We'll add a simple note. How about doing it up there at an angle? So another really fun and simple way to use some of those designer series paper scraps to add a little fun to the inside of your cards. What about using an embossing folder as a really nice accent on your cards? Guys, this could not be easier. So I have a piece of Darling Duckling. I believe it's about a 2-inch by 4 1/4. I've got an embossing folder. This is from a 2-pack. It's called Glass and Gardens. I'm just going to lay my cardstock right there in the center. I'm going to run that through my die cutting and embossing machine. It's going to look a little something like this. Now, you can see these two look a little different. So, yes, I'm going to go ahead and bring in a blending brush and my darling duckling ink pad. You've seen the technique before. We're going to do it again, only this time we're going to use a really, really light touch. So, you're going to want to load up that blending brush, get some of that excess off, and with a really light touch, I'm just going to run this back and forth. And you're going to see we're going to get this beautiful pop of color. Let me get a little bit more on there. It just really makes the embossed images just really, just literally pop right off the cardstock. And this one, it looks like it came out a little bit lighter than that one. That's fine. And then you can see I just added it and did a simple little sentiment there on the inside. So don't forget about your embossing folders to create a really great image to the inside of your cards. All right, friends. So there are all of our fun ways that we can add some creativity to the inside of our cards. You know, some of them you can use in different ways. Remember, we did a couple different with blends. We did a couple different ones with torn edges, a couple different ones here with some circle punches. I hope that this gives you tons and tons of inspiration for how to create unboring cards. The inside of your cards are going to be fantastic. Thank you all so much for being here today. I hope that you enjoyed those tips. Hey, if you did, a thumbs up on YouTube would be so appreciative. And if you haven't subscribed, take a moment to click the subscribe button, and YouTube will let you know whenever I'm back with a new video. Now, if you like fun folds and you like creativity where we create together, be sure to check out the join button next to the subscribe button. It'll tell you about my YouTube membership, where we have so many fun perks waiting for you and an opportunity. Once a month, we get together, we stamp together nice and slow, and we create those fun folds you always wanted to create, but were maybe a little intimidated. This is going to be the event for you. So be sure to check out the join button and see what we have for you there. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and I can't wait to stamp with you next time. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.